am not a big poker guy. I'm more spades, hearts, Midwest people, euchre. New game called 31 that I was introduced to with a team I was recently coaching. My daughter plays a game called Stress, which is kind of a new version of Spit or Speed. You guys ever play Spit or Speed, any of these games, card games as a kid? But poker guy will always tell you that there are tells. One of the things I don't actually get about poker guy, I don't like, when you're watching, poker tournaments on TV, is that they can have headphones and sunglasses on. Like, I think that takes away from the ability to read somebody, read their hands, read their face. But the best can apparently read you, right? They can know what you have. Sometimes it's really hard to read somebody. And then sometimes you're Rob Pelinka and the Lakers, right? Right. Where he basically said, like, look, Rich Paul is the greatest agent in the history of the world. I'm not quoting verbatim, but essentially that's what he said. The Phoenix Suns are kind of equally just showing their cards, right? They're sitting there. They got King Ace High, and they're like, King Ace High, King Ace High. Here's what I mean. They hired James Jones, who is completely unqualified. Like, no one has ever gone like, be a great assistant director of player personnel as soon as he's done playing. James Jones. Okay, I'm like, look, I'm not saying he's not a dope, nice guy. He's watched more NBA games from great seats than Jack Nicholson. Right? He got front row seats. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. And every once in a while, like, hey, dude, he's like the greatest fan ever. Gets to hang with LeBron, gets all the good gear, gets to sit front row, gets the per diem. Every once in a while, they ask him to check in. Like, that's the greatest deal ever. Never gets hurt. Like, all you got to do is warm up a couple hours a day. Like, get my jump shot going. And, like, look, there's something interesting about the Phoenix Suns. You go back to last year, and the Phoenix Suns were they tried to be players in free agency. Right? They tried to be players. You go to this year, and they wanted Blake Griffin. Right? That was their thing. We can get Blake Griffin. And Blake's like, thanks, no thanks. They have Devin Booker. Look, there's a cultural problem in terms of their ability to win. You remember Devin Booker had 70 points in a game, and they took pictures with him like he's Wilt Chamberlain, right, who scored 100. Here's the only problem. They actually lost by 10 points when he scored 70 points. Some of their best players, they've been trying to jettison Eric Bledsoe since they signed that new Eric Bledsoe contract, and that contract comes off the books. Still has some cap flexibility. There's tax benefits to being in Phoenix. It's a place that many former athletes want to go retire and live in Scottsdale. Great quality of life. Like, all that stuff makes sense. And they're just showing their cards like, hey, James Jones, sure. If you can get us LeBron, like if all we have to do is pay you a couple $100,000 and have you as part of our front office, a guy who's been in the league for over a decade, like that's not a terrible investment. It really isn't. But it's also completely showing your cards that you want to be in the LeBron James sweepstakes next year. Adrian Wojnarowski was on Dan Le Batard's show, and he said something interesting about how LeBron may end up playing on a team in the city that's just nice to live in.
It is going to be hard for him to go anywhere and feel like it's going to take a 3 years to build. It has to feel relatively ready-made. Golden State kind of skews that because you look around, there's almost nothing you can put together in this league right now that makes you think, okay, now we're better than Golden State, or now we're as good as Golden State. In any other year, you'd say, I don't know if staying gets him closer. I don't know if leaving gets him closer. But Golden State is so good, and they're at such a level right now, I think that whole idea is skewered. So maybe you just go where you want to play.
Yeah, look, that sounds really good. And I don't think Phoenix is a legitimate option. At the end of the day, it's like, do you want to go from Cleveland to Phoenix? But while people think it has to be ready-made, Cleveland wasn't exactly ready-made. Like, Cleveland had young talent that hadn't yet figured it out. You add in LeBron James. You make a trade for Kevin Love. Mid-season, they made the move for J.R. Smith. And they get to the NBA Finals, force a Game 6, even though Love and Kyrie got hurt. And then in the second year, they win an NBA title. If you think about it, Devin Booker, Josh Jackson will be on a rookie deal, a bunch of salary cap space. Hey, LeBron, remember the guys that are all up potentially next year, right? Chris Paul potentially up next year. Carmelo Anthony potentially available going forward to next year. You can get Dwayne Wade will be available next year. Like, you get the whole band back together and one more time in Phoenix. Remember, there was the famous hug between LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. We'll do this together again someday. Remember when he first went back to Miami? So do I think it'll happen? I said this yesterday and I stand by it. Like, LeBron James is too big to be in Phoenix. Sorry. I love Phoenix. Love Scottsdale. Several good hotels I love to hit up and hang for a week. But LeBron James playing every day in Phoenix, don't see it. Right? Don't see it in San Antonio. Don't see it in Milwaukee. Don't see it in Detroit. Don't even see it in Brooklyn or with the Clippers. Right? You're LeBron James, and you can't go back to Miami as that bridge has been burned, and Pat Riley has let it be known just how unhappy he was and how difficult it was for him, a guy who's a control freak, to hand over some of the control or the fight for control with LeBron James. The one that makes sense is Lakers, and maybe to a lesser extent, the New York Knicks, or staying put. But between the Lakers and lapping up everything that is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Rich Paul to start the week, and the Phoenix Suns hiring James Jones, fresh off sitting courtside and being the caddy for LeBron James for a better part of the last decade as their assistant director of player personnel, both those teams are just showing their cards. We're all in on LeBron, and it's worth it to us, even if he says no. Even if he says no.